Welcome back to Outer Jupiter Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Franklin. This is the live podcast every Wednesday. I was supposed to have on Angel. We were supposed to talk about some ghost stories. Actually, no Angel. I've met her in person. I contacted her yesterday. Are you ready for tomorrow? She said yes, and now she's persona non grata. I don't know. It seems to be a theme of my podcast where I have to kind of go it alone for a second. It's been like 5 weeks in a row where I have been unlucky or my guests have had issues. So next week we will be having on Misty Gaither. She has a podcast of her own. Next week we have on the 17th we have on, excuse me, not next week, but the week after, we have on Mr. Harley Owens from Bigfoot's Data and Reports. He's doing a lot of big things. Go and support his channel. And the week after that, I'm having on the wonderful, the incredible Michael Anthony. And he is going to be talking about underground bases and things of that sort. So I don't know what that's going to be, but it's going to be wild. This could be one of those episodes. I got my friend Kirthy, my best friend in the world. He just contacted me literally 5 minutes ago, something like 7 minutes ago. And he's like, hey, have you seen Dale Salvadorian president's interview? And I was like, hey, man, I'm about to go live, but I don't have anybody coming on. And he was like, you want to, I was like, you want to come if you want, He's like, yeah. So without further ado, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Mr. Kirthy Iyer.
Hello, namaste.
Hello once again. It's going to be one of those, dude. It's going to be one of those.
One of
If you
those
have,
sounds,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
one
going
of
to
those
be.
sounds like it's like what, like a turd. It's gonna be a
It's
turd.
no. It's just like I don't know what it is. It's like they're having like family issues, car issues, another car issue. This one I don't know. I can't seem to contact
But
her.
it's
Well,
funny. You in the beginning of the podcast, you said it's something to like do with me, but clearly it's something to do with them.
no, it has something to do with them, and you can kind of sense it all the way from Spain. Like I was telling you, you are my Indian guru today. So this is going to be one of those episodes where you guys, Pamela and Magical Journey, my buddy, you can ask anything. We'll see about next Wednesday, by the way, too, because as you all know, Hurricane Beryl. If you've been paying attention to the weather at all, or on this side of the world, Kirty. And what's up, K Dog? We got a K Dog.
That's my guru name.
Yeah,
I'm kind of
that's his
a
guru name. Yes,
I'm a hip guru.
he's
I'm like,
Sensei
yo,
K
what's
Dog.
up? Let's get enlightened.
Yeah, let's get. Yeah, so there's going to be a hurricane that's going to be hitting here on Friday afternoon, and so we're going around all day today, taking off panel systems and strapping them to the roofs. We're like drilling new holes, strapping them together, and strapping them to the roof. And I'll be doing the same thing tomorrow, and then I got to go out and do the same thing to my system. And then I got to grab my daughter, and then I
You,
got to
you
grab
know
the
what?
ex-wife.
You know what a
What?
hurricane is? What's another word for hurricane?
Typhoon?
No, it's nature's shoplifter.
It's like it's a very so it comes out of nothing. It comes out of some tropical depression. The next thing you know, it's stealing your barbecue grill.
and your cow.
And- whoa! We can't be talking about cows.
Yeah, big deal.
But yeah, I know. I'm trying to be politically correct. I'm all about political correctness.
Yes, definitely. The one thing that I thought about you when I first saw you was like, yep, that's a politically correct guy.
Yeah, I think when you first saw me, you were quite shocked by how unattractive I am, and I was quite shocked by how large your torso is. And by the way, if you're here, who is pushing the rickshaw down the street here? Well, who? I mean, how how
One
are
of
you?
one of one of my doppelgangers.
What are? Oh, okay. Let's see.
Such a big population. Somebody will look like me and do it.
She's asking me, do I head for higher ground? If it's going to be more wind in the higher ground, I'm a little worried about the cabin I've built out there because it has, a corrugated tin roof basically, and because I am very poor, and I haven't been able to build a solid structure yet. So it's supposed to hit with a force of Category 2 when it hits like the Cancun, Playa del Carmen area. And as it works its way across the peninsula here, it's supposed to be a 1 or like a low 1 tropical storm. and I'm sure it's going to have a shitload of rain. And I've never been in a hurricane before, so it's going to be one of those things where I don't know what the hell's going to go on. But yeah, I thought I would be talking to a lady. See, this lady who's supposed to come on, who hasn't written me back. I should call her and see if she can come on too. And I've contacted people who know her. I've contacted her personally. I resent the link, and nothing is happening. And I was like, hey, we can talk about that. And she's supposed to have, all these, ghost stories because she's from Memphis, and all the crazy shit that went on in Memphis. I mean, you go ahead and figure that out for yourself. But I don't know. It just seems to be the theme of my show that I got to call. I got to contact you or Barrett, or you and Barrett, to make sure that someone's on here with me. But we'll put it this way: if you have any questions about anything, I mean, it could be. Kirthy is pretty well known, well, at least by me, about knowing about how to kind of approach concepts and ideas and how to deal with difficult situations. I remember going to the COVID thing, and me and him both did not take said Big Mac scene, and I felt very alone at that time, and he was there for me, and so he gave me some guidance and stuff like that, and then his guidance was like, I'm going to a Spanish speaking country, and I was like, me too, and we just both just fucked off, and we just went about our business, and it's been weird ever since. I don't know if that's a question or just commentary.
Yeah, I was like, what I'm gonna add here.
Yeah, there's nothing to add, dude. I don't know what. There's anything you want to talk about?
You can talk.
How have you been? How's the beard going?
I have been great. I mean, I did not expect to be in a podcast. I would have shaved and looked better. But then again,
That's
I'm
not
Indian.
true. You've been rocking that beard for 7 to 8 years.
No,
now.
not shave the beard, but shave the sides.
Trim it up a little bit. You mean?
Yeah, just look a little bit posh. For a Guru K dog.
Yeah, but you're basically indoors most of the time now, because you work for yourself, of course. Congrats on that. And you're behind the computer a lot trying to program this game that you're doing, right?
Yeah, that, and then I spend time with my family.
With your children, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Like I said,
I like outdoors. I just don't like people.
Then why did you move to the city?
We didn't move. We are in a town. It's not a city.
How many people live in your town? Don't say where you live, but how many people live in your town?
I don't know. It's pretty less.
Pretty less.
I'm not good with numbers. So.
Wait a minute. How can you be Indian and not be good with numbers?
Okay, that's fine. I'm good with numbers when I calculate them, but I'm not good with it when I don't calculate them. So.
Yeah. How's the stand-up been going? You been doing any of it?
No, I have a lot of itch to do it, but no, can't be bothered to organize a show or go to it. Well, biggest issue is this: can't fucking drive. Oops, sorry, I used the F word. Can't inconveniently drive, or because it's a 1 hour drive to where the stand-up scene is.
But, okay, so like me, what I used to do when we were in Germany.
But I can't drive, so I'm that's why every time I look at the bus, I say, should I go for this 15-minute spot and take a blah blah car and meet a stranger and deal with all that shit, or do I just go? Yeah,
Kirthy used to be a sailor in the U.S. Navy, by the way, everybody. He's a little salty with his language. It seems to be the only time we talk is when we're on this podcast. It's so strange. We used to
talk for a best friend just talks to you on the podcast.
You are still my best friend, but I haven't been able to do any stand up because of my work schedule. It's normally Thursdays. So on Friday, I'm a freaking zombie, but I have to make money on Friday. So when I go into work, I'm half there, and it's just ugh, you know what I mean? So I just kind of skip Thursdays for the moment, trying to make a little coin, trying to get out, because you've seen the raging water that rolls past my place every time there's a downpour, right? Did you see that video?
No.
Have you seen that? No. Oh man, we calculated, me and my buddy, that 15 to 20% of all the water that rains in a city, that includes roofs and streets and houses, flows right in front of my door here. So every time there's a storm, you can literally jump in it. Yeah, finally, So this time, when the dry season, I'm funky for 6 months. I'm like medieval funky for like 6 months, and then once a day. So the first time it happened, I didn't know we moved here in the dry season, and my neighbor knocks on my door and goes, "Hey, your car is moving down the street there." I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And I go outside and it's just rushing by, and I don't have a parking brake in my car, so I just put it in gear. So actually, the water was moving so hard against the tires, it was actually turning the tires, which was turning the motor and turning the gearbox and the rear drive and all that. And it was in the middle of the street. It moved about, I don't know, 20 meters. So I had to jump into like Rambo slash Harrison Ford style and like literally go. I mean, the best thing was, so I get in it. There's a mechanic right around the corner. He's holding the fucking umbrella and he's like, "Hey," so when all in Spanish, but when you jump into the car, start it, and put it in reverse because it was face the opposite direction of the current, and then back out of there. And yeah, so like literally 15 minutes before that, I called my girlfriend. And I was like, "Yeah, I can't pick you up from her singing engagement. So I will not be able to get you because the water is about, I don't know, 30 centimeters deep, about a foot deep, and it's rushing really hard. Like if you stand sideways in it, it would literally wipe you out. So I can't come get you." But then I had to because I had no place to park. So I started parking in this other location, it's a little higher, and about a little no, a little more than a week ago, my battery got stolen. Welcome to Mexico. So I go out the day. I open the door, go to start the car, nothing. I look and I can see that the hood's slightly open. They took the battery, they cut the cables and everything.
Wow.
So that was a whole day's work for me, gone down the tube. So now I park in front of the house where the raging rapids are, where Indiana Jones flows by, and I turn the tires into the curb. So we'll see what happens today. I think it's not going to rain because my lady was telling me before a hurricane, the weather here is quite calm. So it's been a trip. It's been fun. I'm sure you guys are doing with the India. You had Willy Willies in your wet season. And I mean,
I'm out of there, so it's old story.
but didn't you have that when you were growing up? Like where it was like really rainy and the streets are
I try
full
to not
filled with
think
like
about it. I try to not bring back the PTSD.
the PTSD of living in India. Is it that bad?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm exaggerating. No, it's fine. But of course, there's like, it's about perspective. It's like wherever you live, you take it for granted until you have a contrast. Then you kind of go, "Oh, that was kind of crazy." You know.
I don't know, man.
I'll give you an
I,
example. Like when I used to go to my university, I used to take like like a public bus. See, I don't know how it is now. So, but back in my time at the 40, I don't know, for 16, 20 years ago, the bus in India would be like these like maniacal people would drive it. And I was at a bus where, first of all, you can't get in a bus when it reaches a stop because people would just rush into the bus. So you're like, there's no way you'll get a seat, and then you gotta get stuffed in, and it's horrible. And either you have to be bold enough to climb the back ladder and be on the roof, or like hold the door, and otherwise wait for another 3 hours for the next bus. So what I used to
holy
do, I
crap!
was like, so I figured out I could see the bus coming from like a certain road before it reaches the stop. So I would go a bit ahead, and as the bus is coming, I would grab the railing, like the what you call the sidebars, and jump into the bus. And I would do that so that I could get my seat, right?
Holy crap!
Yeah, but I did it multiple times. But this one time, and I can tell you, it was literally like one of those live flashbacks in front of your eyes kind of situation where I was holding, like, I got up, I grabbed the bar, and I almost slipped. And I think I was like 1 second away from Looney Tunes under the
Yeah,
tire.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So I grabbed up. I totally like could see that there's probably an alternate dimension where I died. So I got up, I got in finally, and then the conductor looked at me. He said, "It was like, you're crazy." He told me. I said, I said, "I know." And then he said, "Don't." It is what he said, which was funny for me. He said that, "You want to die? Don't die under my bus."
Right.
He's like,
Under.
don't be a problem for me. Like
Yeah,
you can
I
die
got a
another
family to
one.
feed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were talking about alternate dimensions. What can you tell me about alternate dimensions? That's an interesting little segue that you tagged on there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I mean, they could go in different directions there, but because it's alternate dimension,
Right.
but yeah, right. But the idea is like it always comes back to this question, which is, do we have like, is everything predestined and are we living a script, or is it like we are shifting through multiple possibilities, and like it's like the Matrix thing where it's like you're taking an action, but you could have also gone that direction, and that just you shifted a dimension. You're now in this dimension doing taking action in this direction, but there's another Kurti who took a different action and he's in that dimension, and it's a
So,
different
how many
experience.
Kurtis do you think there is in India?
In India, probably like
A
10,000,
million?
100,000.
10, wow. So, you took the action to get into the university. You had to get good grades, and then, as far as I know, you were able to get a position in the university in Vancouver. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you are a. I
Human
mean, I know.
being.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there.
Handsome man.
Um,
I knew.
what is your degree? You're like something like digital arts or something like this, right?
No, I did
Or
a
graphics
bachelor
designer.
in computer applications, but I am actually, yes, I'm an animator. I mean, I started as an animator, but
But you're. That's funny because you are
but
animated, so that's pretty funny.
yes, and I'm multi. Ooh. I am
Let's
the
go back.
opposite of I'm the opposite of Julian Kish when it comes to body movement.
Oh, yeah, but you guys are basically the same person. Just one is a slightly darker skin tone than the other. I mean, like, what do you? Okay, so you go, you hang out with your kids, you teach your kids. I know you do a lot of homeschooling and all that, which is what I do too as well. What do you do other than stand up and work and hang out with your kids? What are your hobbies? I don't, because I know back in Germany, you were pushing, you were like the godfather of the English comedy scene and all that. What do you do now?
Well, just besides like Family Man, yeah, I work on my game. Like it takes a huge aspect of like time, because
Uh-huh.
it's kind of a dream come true, but at the same time also didn't expect it to be so much hard work. But it's like, because I get to write my own story, so it's my own characters, and I have the game was my concept, and then of course like the dialects for the characters, and then like all the other aspects within the game, and then I design the graphics, the UI, and animations, whatever. So there's never not enough.
I have a question for Magical Journey. What game are you creating?
It's a collectible card game called Screenplay CCG. You can find it on Steam and already play it. It's free to play.
Free to play a magical card game. And this came to you. This is something that you always wanted to do. Is to do this kind of project.
No, I mean, I'm much more cordy about how my actions that happen in my life. So if all there's like two ways to answer it. Officially would be like, well, I always wanted to have my own business, and I always wanted to have my own creative project, because just working for somebody, and that's not the same thing.
Tell me about it.
But how this project came about, sometimes I look back and I just think like, this is where I kind of believe like universe unfolds in its own accord. I just go, how the heck this and why that and why that got picked. I didn't consciously chose those decisions, but they
Hmm.
fit. But they fit and they're perfect. Why? And this is where I feel a bit like it does its own thing,
Uh
you
huh.
know?
And you're kind of like maybe a bit caught in the current of the reality that you happen, or this manifestation that you happen to find yourself in.
Yes, yes, because you can kind of see it. Like, it's like, again, it's like you could trace your life, and I mean, it comes down to this question of like free will. So if I go in that direction, I would kind of point it like this: is like, you don't. you don't make your body move or do anything. Like you have an intent. You say I want to go there, but you don't manually go, let's lift the left arm, let's lift the right arm, let's lift the left
Well,
leg.
it's not
Like
conscious. It's not. It just becomes. It used to be conscious,
it
like where
used to
you
be,
would think
yes.
about it, right?
Yes, but then again, it's like, okay, that's motor skills. But what about, you're not making your heart beat?
Mm.
You're not breathing. This is not learned
Well,
stuff. It's inherently
well,
within.
that's a weird one. Breathing is a very. It's one that's kind of in between
Why?
because you can kind of pause your breathing. You can extend your breathing. You can teach yourself to breathe in a certain way. There's Kundalini. There's a lot of things
No,
that you
yeah,
can do. So
you
it's
could,
kind of conscious and also you cannot also think
yeah,
about
so
it.
you can go further than that. So okay, yes, you could say you have, that's what I mean. Like, so there is this ability of control, but at the
Hmm.
same time, most of the time, it's not control, but it's focus. So it's like you don't have the capacity to run all the operations. You just can't. You can't
Okay.
breathe, make the heartbeat, make sure your kidney systems, everything's working, make sure all the cells are functioning in the right direction, make sure your brain is like you're not. You just, you focus on a particular thing, and that's where your control comes. You say, I want to move my left arm, you move your left arm, you
Okay.
know. But you can't, like, okay, some people can do like like there's people who can, let's say, do two hands or whatever, like, but it's, what I mean is, like, you still have a certain focus that you do, and this is where your control comes in. However, then the question comes to is, when you say kundalini breathing and other breathing, it's also like, where does these things come from? Where do you want to say, I don't like my breathing, I'm going to change my breathing? And then you say, I read it from some information I read on the, I don't know, internet or whatever, I found it from a friend. And then
Hmm.
you go, okay, who's deciding this is like for me and not for me? Who's makes takes the action?
Mm.
And you, so you start tracing this back more and more. You found out, like, there's always a point where you have like a minuscule level of control, but there is a sort of domino of actions that let's, like, the universe is unfolding.
Right. Because I mean, like I don't want to say I don't like talking
You
about it.
asked Guru,
It's
so
not true.
yeah,
It's not true. It's not
probably
true.
went there,
Yeah,
right?
the guru. Yeah. Like if you were to tell me when I was 15 that I would, at the age of 41, be living in Mexico after being 20 years in Germany and after joining the United States military and being in a conflict and there being a pandemic and all that before that, I would think you're crazy. But at the same time, like life just kind of moves on and you just kind of go with it. And the more open you are to just accepting the, like what's put in front of you and kind of putting one foot in front of the other, making moves and just consciously trying to to be a good person. I think there's like, I don't know, it's like it's been, I always looked at my life as kind of like a buffet of like just not one thing of everything, because a lot of people for the most part they live and they die within 50 miles of where they're born. That's like 95% of the people. But people like you and I, we have chosen for some reason or been picked to lead these lives. And you're saying that you don't think it's a conscious choice, but sometimes it is. Like sometimes you have to
No,
make that
I'm
first step.
saying, no. See, the conscious choice is like, there is. So it's kind of like this. The conscious choice is a bit the interface, but it's not the end of where it originates. The
Okay.
origination is even behind. So what I mean by this is, like, our conscious choice to what is the unfolding of the universe, because
Uh
it's
huh.
like, let me give you an example. It's like, you would never make decisions to go to Mexico when you were like 5 years old.
No, because you're too young to
You
do
don't even
so. Yeah.
you don't know anything exactly.
You
So
you don't
you
know where
have,
Mexico is.
exactly. So and what you cannot do is, you cannot, unfortunately, you could see this, that you cannot cherry pick a particular decision you made today of without unraveling all the previous decisions and all the previous things that have happened in the past.
True.
And so this is so one of the things that humans have, as a human beings, have this problem with this idea is, like, they always think, like, even when we talked about alternate realities, we think like they that we have always these choices, right? But the problem is this: the choice is only conceptual, because once you take the action, there is no undo and go back, and all the particular other choices in the past are conceptual, and all the choices in the future are conceptual. The only thing that you have complete, like, so-called control is in the present moment. However, in the present moment, you could say, like, I took a choice, I had these four choices and I did it, and then as you look back you go, well, who made that, like, choice? And then you trace back and there's still additional movements have happened for you to take that action, if I'm making any sense. Like, let me
Yeah.
put it this way: human evolution, our ability to talk, like the words that you're using are entirely dependent on the language of society. You
Hmm.
cannot disconnect your language from that. So this is like the programming that goes within you.
Right.
The conceptual, the ideas, the inspiration, all of it is like filled in. And then from then comes additional movement within you. So the question that comes down to is, well, if I have the conscious choice, well, why don't I have it before the programming?
I think. Wow. I don't know. Maybe you do and don't know because that's it's like a chicken or the egg kind of question.
Yeah, look at this. Okay, if you see a baby, the baby has a, like, when it's born, it has
Do you put it in the bag?
yeah, put it in the bag.
That's an inside joke. Uh,
If you have a baby, you see it's born, you can see there's like a being there, and you can sense the presence of a being. However, what you notice is, like, you don't see conscious decision being made by the baby in the beginning. There's none.
right.
It's just a bunch of, like, it's a meatball with, like, basic functionality. It's like you know.
That's on a shirt. That's the next shirt. A baby is a meatball. All right, go for it.
But you know what I mean. Like, it's like
Find it on Etsy. Go for it, ladies and gentlemen.
so you can see the baby, and it's like you can see the one thing that's there when you look at the baby is the consciousness. You can see that there is a being there. That's 100%. You cannot deny it. As soon as it's there, there's a being there. But the being is trying to kind of make sense of the reality that's in front of this being. So it's looking at your, like, ugly fucking daddy face and going, like, what
Yeah,
the fuck is
the
that?
cracks.
And then keeps coming, and he's like kissing. He's like, oh, is this like? And then you keep hearing, this weird gentleman keeps coming up. They keep saying daddy. It's like that's daddy, and then it forms this meaning. Daddy means this dude who keeps taking care of me all the time and does things for me, and it has a whole meaning. And the weird thing is, every person's definition of daddy does not match. So if their daddy was not a good person, their idea of daddy, which is very interesting to explore, their worldview of daddy is completely different from a worldview of someone whose father was more loving and caring.
Oh, so you mean feminist? Okay. That's what it basically is in the end. If you roll it back, they're like their displeasurement or they're being displeased with men is because in their life they didn't have a positive male role model, which is also an interesting thing. Like those
Yeah, because
things,
they have daddy issues because their daddy was busy with his own daddy tissues. So
right? It kind of flows all the way back to the beginning. It's really weird. So so being a bad dad flows forth from the beginning, and it basically came from like somewhere where someone like stole his toy. Like your great 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 grandfather who was like somewhere's in the I don't know, we're speaking from America. He's like in a shack in the hills of West Virginia, and then like somebody stole his wooden toy, and then from there on he became like a shitty person, and that makes you like grumpy today. It's so interesting that so
yeah,
like
yes, yeah. Sorry, good.
yeah, go for it, please.
No, I just want to say, like, so that's why you could see, like, you can't separate those events. So we separate event. We say that was my ancestor. That was he did something, and it's different from me. Yeah, but these everything, this separation that we're doing is in concepts. Without the concepts, is there a separation between my ancestors? or is it a domino effect?
I think it's more of a domino effect.
Yeah, but isn't it like a unitary movement? It's like one single stroke of brush. It's conceptually you can say I'm separating this. These are different things, but it could be one single breathing of the universe.
Interesting. Interesting. So, do you have you ever like considered a concept of like where children have like memories from the past and where
Yeah,
they can
yeah,
actually
yeah.
follow those memories? Like this, I used to live in this house in said town, and then they can go. I've actually heard stories where the parents will go over to this town, okay, because some of them are not that far away sometimes, and they'll go there and they can tell you where the market is. They can tell you where
Yes,
this that
yes,
is. They can tell you which street. What do you think about that? Do you believe in like such concepts or reincarnation?
yes.
I mean, I
Because
know you're Indian. I'm putting you on the spot, but
well, it's I believe more like, or well, let's not call it belief, but there's an intuitive knowing of it where I see that consciousness is like unending. If you really explore consciousness, you find out that it's infinite. It's so infinite. That's what it's unending, and you can see that you can't really put barriers around it. So it's pretty believable or pretty acceptable to reasonable to know that why won't this information stay, that you could still
mm,
pull
that
it back in your conscious.
the energy
Yeah,
doesn't end. It just
yeah,
changes, kind of
yeah.
concept.
Like why would you not? I mean, it's interesting, no? Like some of the stuff that they talk about, like conspiracy, and you think it's so hilarious. Like give an example, they talk about what's going on.
Oh, so the reason the lady couldn't come on is because I'm not going to say what happened, but something incredibly often awful happened to her family today, and that's the reason why
Oh,
she was so.
yeah.
So, Angel, thoughts and prayers to you.
Awesome.
Thoughts and prayers from the eye of Jupiter. Something really bad happened. Go deal with your situation, sweetheart, and we'll make it up a date. So something happened today that was just
It
horrific.
happens. Life is
Yeah,
happening.
it happens, and yeah, we're sorry about that. So I take everything back. No, I wasn't that mean at the beginning. I was talking about my bad luck. See, like everyone who's nothing's happening to you, right? You're doing good, aren't you, sweetie?
Exactly.
That's so strange. It's happened so many times. It seems to be like a theme of the podcast. Like
Yeah,
people,
but see again, that's conceptual. Like
really,
yeah, because see, we are human beings are pattern oriented, so we like to identify a pattern with things. But rather,
yeah, it's true. It's because
we think like okay, 5 times this happened, so it must be something to do with me. Nah, it's not. Like
well, yeah, too. We tend to pay attention to the negative more than the positive because it is kind of. I mean, if you believe in evolution, depending on your religious leaning or your religious beliefs or the lack thereof, like that, there's an evolutionary advantage to paying attention more to the negative than the positive because a lot of times if you're paying attention more to the negative, you will then therefore survive. You can't just be sitting around a campground and something is out there
yeah, I
growling.
used to believe this. I don't believe it anymore. I think like this might be some propaganda sort of, or some programming that's like purposely taught to humans. This idea that it helps us to focus on negative aspects. Because the truth is like we should dissect it. Like let's look at it. Like, is it really true? Like focusing on negative aspects help us. So the reality is, if something happens in active presence in front of you, like something
Okay.
unfolds, you take an action for it, no problem. Whether it's negative, positive, you are present, you take an action, you will resolve the situation. However, what's amazing with human mind does is like how many negative possibilities your mind thinks that don't happen. How many?
Say it again one more time.
How many negative possibilities our human mind conjures up or conjures up in our head that don't happen.
Hmm.
And the question that comes down to is, what is your state of being when you listen to these negative thoughts in your mind, and how do you operate?
You become negative, of course.
Yeah, and so the thing is like, so it's like a caveman, or like again, this is I'm let's say hypothesizing. I don't really know. But if I look at this perspective, I feel a bit like this is like a concept that we learn that, oh, like we must be for survival. I think life was so intense, you wouldn't have the time to conceptually think about back in those days of potential threats. Life is so intense back then that you're
Yes.
constantly aware. You're aware in the present moment. You wouldn't go, I bought this cave, but do you think like if the ceiling's gonna leak tomorrow? Or I mean the residential area around the elephants
So
is even
true.
better. It's like it's
So true.
it's
Like
part like yeah.
after being down here and you're seeing the struggles that the people go through their whole lives here, and then you see people, in like first world countries, America and Europe alike, and you see them complain about things like, I can't believe that I couldn't find any AA batteries today. This is like God's against me. And you're like, shut up. It's just like, what are you talking about? Is there a roof over your head, or just is your stomach full? Do you have clothes on your back? Those are like the things that you kind of need to like continue on and propagate the species, because basically that's what we're here to kind of do, is just like to continue on with the species, like in the carnal sense or in the biological sense. And everything on top of that is like that monkey, not the monkey part, but the alien part of our brain where we're like, oh, we're trying to do better. I've just seen people complain about pool pumps and like just the craziest shit. And then like I remember in the past, like me, like eking out over it. Like I find that like if I'm stressed, it's because I'm doing so many things. And when I'm overstressed, then I have no patience. You know what I'm saying? Like the
Yeah.
life is just moving too fast. I'm trying to make moves, and I'm so busy that I just need a moment where nothing happens. Like I'll be holding a fork and it'll fall out of my hand, and I go figures, and it's just like everything that you know what I mean. The stupid shit like that becomes so stressful to me because all the big stuff that's in front of me, like this hurricane is coming, right? And there's a part of me that's kind of excited about it. I want to see it fuck some shit up. But at the same time, I don't want it to, because I don't want it to like hurt and bother or fuck anybody else's stuff up, including my own. But at the same time, I enjoy seeing the power of nature. So there's like this. I'm like standing on the fence, yet again. I know, like, most YouTube channels become bigger by standing on one side or the other. Abortion rights and Trump this and yeah. It's like it's all fucking wrestling. It's like what is it? That's the thing that I think most people struggle with, is like, what is it that you really want? What is it
Well,
that you
well, the
want?
truth is like it's quite easy, but of course the easiest answer is the hardest one to accept. So the easiest answer is
Oh,
yeah, but it is. It's like what do people want? You want to feel okay inside.
hmm.
That's what it is. Every
Right.
day, every human being, doesn't matter who's on this planet, whichever human being, wants every day to wake up full of energy, excitement for life, and feel okay inside. He want to
Yeah.
feel secure, and the
Yeah. So
action.
if you
So
have to
this,
fart, just let it out. I got you.
yeah, but the you said about the negative thinking. What is negative thinking? The negative thinking is, again, I want to be okay. I'm not okay. Why? Because I have projected these possible outcomes that will not make me not okay. So I'm gonna make sure that those things don't happen. So I'm okay. So it constantly comes back to, I need to be okay. I need to be okay. Something will happen. Something will happen.
Right.
And the truth is, again, comes back to that, which is, can you control how you're gonna die? No. Can you control how the events unfold? You can unfold very minuscule level of, this is the illusion of your free will, which is you can go, well, I made my coffee today. Yeah, but the coffee machine could have been broken. Then what? Well, I could take it to the repair shop. Repair shop could be closed. Then what? Well, I could get on the internet. Internet could be down. So you take an action, but there's still, you're at the mercy of reality unfolding in front of you.
Yeah.
And so if you accept it, then you take the action that is the right action, it will automatically happen. However, this idea of like, I'm gonna constantly project all the possible outcomes like some kind of rain man and make sure nothing ever happens to me, it's just gonna make you a rain man. It's just gonna be, you know
So, so if you worry about everything, you're Dustin Hoffman in the movie. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, that's kind of a nutshell. That's pretty much my But
That's so incredible. That's so incredible because I mean, what do you think about conspiracy theories? Do you think that there's people in power conspiring
for
to
sure, for
do,
sure,
to do,
for sure,
okay,
for sure.
absolutely, because we know that
Well,
if
they
you look
want
at,
like they are our aspects. No, like imagine a simple example. That's why I always
yeah,
say evil is not like people think like, oh, evil is like yeah, sinister, like Lord of the Rings kind of. No, evil
yeah,
is just an aspect of you. Simple like this. You spend your energy believing that your achievements matter, or your things matter, your property you collected, whatever. So you spend a lot of money and stuff. So you found out life is a little bit hard. So you found some shady ways to get your wealth, get your whatever this material things that you want, right? You did some
right,
shady practices, you reached the top. What do you think is going to happen if you do shady practice and reach the top? Your mind's going to tell you somebody's going to find out. Somebody's going to somebody's going to find out how you got this shit. Somebody's going to find out and take this away from you. So what do? You start trying to control the people so that they never find out. So
uh-huh.
it's like a domino effect of, rather than letting
Do
go
you,
this control, it's a perpetual, like you know how you lie to keep continuing the lie. It's the same way
yeah,
you control to keep continuing the control, because see,
wind blew down, the fan blew down my painting. Thank you very much.
there was a
Um,
ghost going fuck this shit, you
this
know
is a
that.
bull. This podcast is freaking boring. Now, so these people who conspire against us, do you? I think that these people, whoever they are, I think it's about 300 families, maybe 3,000 people, like the very tippy top. They have all the money and they'll never be able to spend it in 10 lifetimes, but they still continue to do it. So I am under the I am under the influence, or not. I'm under the influence of them, but I'm under the suspicion that there is a true evil. Do you think there is a true evil? Like there is
I
a
mean,
conscious entity. People, they've given it names in the past, Satan, Beelzebub, and that and the like. You can say it's something else, an interdimensional being, or something of that nature. But there's at a certain point, if you are okay, this is I got to be really careful. This is what you do. If you are projecting a concept in which you know that if you do a certain thing and you make them take a choice between not feeding their family and feeding their family over a intervention of sorts which would happen in your body, in which they know because it got hidden and we all know that now, and is killed possibly or unlifed, better said, excuse me, YouTube algorithm. um, a lot of people, is that just money? Or is it just at a point at which we see it for what it is and it's always existed that way? Or is there some type of evil, true demonic type evil at play here?
this is
It's a hard question, I
no,
understand
no.
that, but
Let me put it this way: like, first of all, do I think there's evil? Sure, but the way I would perceive it, I perceive it like this. I perceive it like, first of all, I perceive that the universe is one. So I'm not. I don't look at it as like like a contrasting element of God, if you could say it like
mhm,
that. I see it as a sub element of God. Like God is bigger
the big G.
within, yeah, it's within this framework, because it's a polarizing contrast of the positive, and then it's like you could see the same pattern in the entire universe. For example, the space is dark, completely out of light. What people think, like, we see the sky and we see like multiple stars, like millions of them, and we think the space is like just full of stars. The truth is actually, it's
The
further from the
opposite.
truth. Yeah, because in reality it's mostly nothing. It's
Mhm.
mostly nothing. And then there are pockets of areas where the stars, and we see them because they have so much distance, but we see them in a single two-dimensional kind of view. But actually there's like massive amount of nothingness between the stars. So it's like, but what's amazing is you don't look at the sky and go, man, that darkness is pretty amazing. You actually look at the stars and go, that's amazing. It's a similar contrast there. So I feel like there is, Tom, if you only knew my story, dude. Shade Viking.
I'll have you on Shade Viking.
He's got some
I'll
demonic.
have you on. Oh, like maybe because like some people,
No,
some
so let me finish.
some
Like the
people have.
answer.
Yeah, yeah, go for it, buddy.
No, so my answer in a nutshell is like I think like there are I'm sure there's like evil. I'm this part of like where they are being like these people are controlled. It's I don't know about it, but what I can see is that I've seen humans do evil stuff, and I've seen people snap out of it also. So for me, it's a bit like I always see there's an element within you that has the capabilities of you could really see yourself easily going the dark side, and you could really see yourself easily going the right side,
Okay.
and it's a level of awareness and also your environment and your programming that you need to kind of recognize this, because
Hmm.
there is an innate nature of us to not necessarily go evil when we see the empathy element, but there are also elements, though there have been people who are completely born without this element. There's also been situations like that where they never had it, and you can't really understand why, because so yeah, like long answer, but I think there's evil, but I'm not 100%. I feel this could still be a projection of human, where I think like, oh, there's these demonic entities like
Yeah,
uh
well, the demonic entity, like when you say the word demonic, it always puts like some type of religious like shade upon it. But I don't know,
but
man,
yes,
because
but if you put it like that, I could imagine there's negative entities that see value in their point of view, which is self-serving.
might be the greatest thing I've ever heard. That these
But
negative
they
entities see
look at it.
value in their point of view is so funny.
Hear me out. I'm talking about self-serving, like because they are so self-serving, right? That's what is a demonic end. It's self-serving.
Yes.
That's the difference. It doesn't care about anybody else, any shared other beings or whatever. It just wants all it wants is for itself, whether it's power, whether it's like whatever, pleasure, all these things. It's consumption, complete. And you know what's closer in the universe, also similar to that, is a black hole. It's like everything just sucks.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so I can imagine there are like some demonic, what do you call it, like these negative kind of beings
yeah,
out there.
like yeah, yeah. It's evil,
Sure,
whatever the
sure,
evil I call it.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know, man, because like okay, you see this evil happen. You see the very unofficial, unenlightened people have said. I have heard is I am not a fact checker and I do not know that somewhere between 15 to 23 million people have died as a result of this said intervention. And I find that to be absolutely incredible. And at the same time, if what do you think? I don't think when we say the thing is like when people say, "What do we do?" It's not. I don't think it's what we do. I just think it's what you do because I
yeah,
think these people know that we're very easily manipulated. They spend millions of dollars to manipulate you to make you actually do things against your self interest to either vote or choose A or B, and you know that it's against your self-interest, but you don't know. And so like what my question is, like when you feel that way, it is also in a sense feeding into that negative energy as to
yes,
being is instead
yes,
of reflecting inwards
yes.
and realizing that you have to be aware of it. You need to have a bullshit detector. You understand what I mean? Because we run into them all the
Well,
time. Comics, they come up and are just like, I'm this and that, and I'm an Aquarius and this and that and the other. It's like that's not who you are. Because they so it's like an automatic response and they don't self reflect. You know what I mean? Like you
well,
have to fix the universe, you have to fix yourself.
that's why I'm kind of careful when you brought up the demonic question, because my problem with this issue is what I've noticed. I'm careful of this nowadays when I talk to people, is that there is a trap of being, let's say, there might be truths to this. There's potential of, conspiracy and all that, but however, there's a problem with this, that you can still get sucked into that world because of the fear that it produces within you. And fear
Right.
is not a state that can bring you at the highest potential of yourself. Fear is not a state that will make you like a being that will have a positive impact in the world. You just
Right.
where? Who? Give me an example of a
I
person
agree.
completely driven with fear making great decisions.
I agree with you 100%. But that's what they do.
Yes, and so
That's
so
what they do.
so that's why I'm careful of, like, when somebody says like, "Oh, is there this evil and conspiracy?" I go, "Yeah, but don't worry about it. You got you."
Yeah, dude. That's a
That's
great
that's
way.
kind of why that's why I keep coming back to that, because I'm like,
Yeah,
don't
that's
fall
like
into this trap.
I
That's the
think
trap.
the trap is that when don't let it consume you. I think it's the way I used to let it consume me. I remember getting online if in my opinion, I didn't Sakib, our buddy Sakib from Pakistan, a good friend of ours. He posted a little picture of Michael Jackson from Thriller eating popcorn, like, and that right there just clicked something in my brain, and I went, oh right, because I there's a point at which there's nothing wrong with being aware of it. Like every time there's a commercial, every time there's some that debate that the old cheese face and Weekend at Bernie's had there, and people are like discussing it as if it was a real thing, and they were just people are having a hard time feeding their families because of the policies they put in place in their tax reforms and this, that, and the other, and they're talking about their golf shots, and I'm not a sucker, you're a sucker, and people are like, do you can you believe that he that he was talking about his golf shot? And I'm like, are you know what I mean? Like we are just you need to be able to make a distinction between pro wrestling and reality. So be aware of what it is. There's nothing wrong with being aware of it.
You
And
look.
that
I was same, like, didn't take and was aware of all the. Like,
yes,
I don't trust authority. You cannot come to me with authority and be like, take this. I'm like, you have my
no,
interest. Yeah, buddy. Sure, buddy. Like,
right.
that's never gonna happen. But I'm still not gonna. But what I want to is dedicate my life, like 3 years, going around telling people like, what they did, what this is what happened, and just like, because then it'll consume me.
Mm,
And so the thing is, like, if you notice, one thing is, like, if you wake up in the morning, or like, you wake up in the morning, you can wake up in the night, but you generally notice
okay, all right. Take it easy, Dracula. Go for
you have you have that's a fucking shitty Dracula. You have energy, right? Like, and you can notice, like, a huge amount of, like, where your mind is taken is where your energy gets sucked. And so it's a
yeah.
little bit like, it's like energy feeding. So if
Yes.
you it's like the same thing which you were saying with the Michael Jackson popcorn situation. It's like, if you're in an argument, your energy is getting sucked. If
Hmm.
you are taking a particular side, your energy is getting sucked. If you believe the certain world is certain way and you're afraid of it, your energy is getting sucked. You won't wake up optimistic
Hmm.
about life if these are the concepts running in your head.
But how are you aware? Not to cut you off, but how do you aware? Like, okay, there's a debate, there's an argument going on, and there's one side which is also a wrong way of looking at it, but there's one side that you seem to be leaning more towards. You know what I mean? It could be about any concept that we're talking about hitting somebody, for example. You'd be like, I don't think you should hit anybody. Now, how do you reconcile that? Because you are picking a side. You see what I'm saying? Because you know
No,
what side to
this is how
choose.
I reconcile. I reconcile, number
Physical
one.
violence.
There are three ways I approach it. Number one, I remind myself that holy shitballs, this existence is amazing. Like, I
Yes.
just kind of go, I can't believe. I don't care what scientists say when they say, "Yeah, it was a tiny little thing dot that exploded and created this." I'm like, "Yeah, buddy. What are you on?" You know,
Yeah.
it's it's like there is an inherent intelligence within the universe that has created the universe.
Yes.
You can say whatever you want. You can say matter created, don't created. You can say Big Bang was the explosion. You can whatever. You can believe flat Earth, but what you cannot deny, the very existence is magnificent. So number one, I remind myself this. All right. Number two, then what I usually do is I kind of go, well, if I pick a side, I am part of the problem. If I remove myself from it, at least one person less.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy, holy shit.
Yeah, so I like that one too. That made me laugh.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so I remove myself because I go like when there's a conflict, how do you become a mediator? The mediator has to not take a side.
Always was me. Always
And
was
so
me.
that's the same. So I kind of go, I'm not gonna take a side. And then what I do is I trust. So this is what I remind myself. I say, this universe is so amazing. What is this tiny little piece of shit gonna do to resolve situations? Have faith or have trust in the very universe course correcting or doing what it needs to be done.
Mm.
If the universe wants tomorrow a bunch of negative beings roaming around Earth, who the heck am I to question this?
I don't know, man. I don't know. There's always there's. I got to be honest with you.
See, you come back to the
That's
control
fine.
situation.
That's fine. No, that's fine. That's fine if you say that. But there's something deep and innate within inside of me as a being that when I see a child getting struck or a woman, there's an innateness inside of me that can't say, the universe is amazing and who am I to fix this because that's what the universe wanted. I can't do that.
Yes, but
And
there
I'm
again,
sure you can't either.
no, but there's a difference between like what I'm not gonna do. Like first of all, there's a crime happening every second, probably,
Yes.
right? Are
Yes.
we going and are we going and solving this right now? No, we can't.
Well, because we don't know they're happening, but there's also ones that are happening that we know are happening,
No,
but at
no.
the same time, there's nothing
So,
we can
so
do
that's
about it.
like already one we can't. It doesn't mean nobody's saying if you feel like there's a genuine, passionate action that you want to take about something, go for it. That's like that's not what I'm saying that you should not do.
Okay.
However, there is a limit to your capabilities and possibilities that you could do. So
Right.
if you see a dire situation, I will probably take a decision at that time what
Right.
needs to be
Okay.
done.
Okay. So
But
if
what
you're
I'm
like,
not
okay, I'm sorry.
I'm
So
not
if you're
saying
like,
I'm,
if
I'm
you're
gonna let the yeah. Sorry, continue.
no worries. Like if you're a person in a wheelchair and you see that happening, there's not really much you can do about it, except for maybe direct somebody else. Do you see that? Please, fix the situation. So you kind of have to also realize that what you're saying is work within the limits of which you're capable of doing. If you can make a positive effect in the world, then make that positive effect. And a lot of times, what I'm basically saying is that there's a reactionary thing. You can't just sit there and philosophize, about that
Yeah, and then
situation.
but there's another thing. So another thing is like again, you have to look at the world with the contrast as a part of it. It's not part of it. So it's like humans, we like to think like everything is like you know how do you say like a Disney film. I mean, not anymore, but in the olden days, it's like it's like a beautiful and nice, and nobody gets harmed, right? But if you look at nature,
Oh,
nature is cruel, man.
that was funny.
Nature is cruel.
Really?
Like, have you looked at nature? Have you looked at
Well,
like,
what do you think about love? Is love nature?
yeah, it's part of nature, yeah.
Yeah. Well, is that cruel? Can be,
No,
but
but
is it?
no, no, there's a difference.
I no, just
If you're
that's what
talking about
I'm.
possessive love, that's a different thing. If you're talking about love,
That's true too.
that's different. But I'm saying like nature is cruel, and we can look at like nature, like there are times like for example meerkats. The meerkats would just go, and go to a meerkat like like another tribe in the night and
It's
just
just
slaughter the entire family.
yeah.
It's like when nature wants to be cruel, and nature can be very kind, very very kind if you look at it. So where I'm going is you will see people, for example, who were born with difficult situations, like they might not have limbs and stuff, and they have made a meaningful life out of it, right?
Yeah. Right.
Who am I to take that away from them? This is part of that free will journey of that particular person. From the
Okay.
despair, from the suffering, is also growth and innate capacity for a human being.
Hmm.
Where again it comes down to this, like, I am not the divine intervention to go, like, people who are fighting, people who are doing, they are sort of, it's maybe a little bit of Hindu philosophy, but it is part of their
Well, to
karma and
play
their interest to learn and grow from there, you
well to
know?
play devil's advocate. Say you somehow ran across a rusty wheelchair. I keep going back to the wheelchair concept, if you would call it that. And you see a person with no legs, kind of just crawling down the street, even if they're walking on their hands, and they just got good at it. They can flip upside down and they can run like an Olympic athlete, but on their hands. If you have this wheelchair that's just sitting in the corner that you cleaned and oiled and fixed because you were going to sell it or whatever, I understand what you're saying. Like, that's their reality, and they then fit it and mold it to that they grow in their own way. But wouldn't you also have the opportunity to help somebody by saying, "Hey, take this." You understand what I mean?
Yeah, but
Like,
see, you already, your example was a little bit
I
rigged,
shit. Yeah,
because
okay.
if they're doing backflips without legs, I'll be more inspired by watching them, and I'll take the fucking wheelchair and go home and do something about it.
Oh,
You know what
then
I
you would sit in a wheelchair and roll down the streets.
mean? No, I'm contrasting, but I'm saying, like, that if I see a person without legs doing backflips, I'm thinking, holy shit, that's an amazing human potential, and I have
Yeah,
to learn. My problems are nothing. My issues are nothing. This person is showing me anything's possible.
yeah.
See, the help part is again a point of view of me holding them in an image in a certain particular way, and then coming up acting as this is needed. Like, that person clearly doesn't need the wheelchair from my point of view, from your example. Now,
Well, if
if the
you were
person was
to,
crawling on the floor and going, I need help, and he's like,
but
where's
once you
the,
decide,
then I would
once
help.
you're able to, just completely distinguish that they're not a zombie first, you could ask them, right? Would you like a wheelchair?
You could or
And if
you
they
could
say,
not, but it doesn't matter to me.
hmm,
There's
I
no,
don't
like,
know.
who is judging whom? Please
I'm not
answer me
judging
this.
anyone.
No, but I'm saying, like, there is an expectation that there is a right decision. Where is that coming from?
That's a philosophical discussion about maybe God and things of that nature.
No, but
But
again, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, if you say, like, because there is a sort of a, you could see that your question had a pre-baked answer of, like, the kindest thing would be to give the wheelchair.
well,
But if you
yes,
know, but if you notice, there is always a perception of the perceiver and the reality, and it's based on the perception how the reaction would happen. If you see a decrepit person in a difficult situation and then you do
hmm,
help, it's fine.
nice use of the word decrepit. Go for it, please.
So you say, okay, fine, I do what I can, and you look it down. If I see a
Mhm.
person with the highest potential, I think they're at their best capabilities, and I don't help, that's also true to my perception. There's nothing wrong in either of the aspects.
That's a lot of food for thought. Well, it's been an hour and 5 minutes. It's weird. How do you
Shut up in
land
India.
no? How do you land a conversation like that? How do you bring that one down? I don't know. Thanks so much once again. They have told me, I have been speaking to, the people who always come on here, my buddies, Pamela and Magical Journey and the like, Shade Biking. There's a few people that come on here once in a while. We yuck it up. They do enjoy you coming on because you always bring like when you say something, it enters in my mind like a big fart cloud a lot of times. And it just completely fogs it up. I have to actually go back through and listen to what you're saying, and that means to me you were the Indian guru, my friend.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much, and we should get on whatever the possibility exists with it. I'd like to get on with the group of guys again and start talking shit like we always do. Trust me, you do not want to follow our thread. You will think that I am actually evil. So yeah, buddy, just stick around for a second. I want to chat with you for a minute.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
All right,
definitely.
buddy. So that was interesting. I guess I don't like he just he always does that to me. He does take what I say into account. He always has. He likes to throw it out and roll it back, and he makes me. He's always made me think. He's always been a great friend of mine, and he's always been there for me, and he was there for me again. And thank you guys also, the Iyer Trooper, for being there for me. If you like what I do, or if you enjoy coming back to this channel and you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so. You can also follow me on Rumble. You can also find me on Spotify as well. And remember, if I can get to here, we are the Eye of Jupiter. How do I word that? Oh, yeah, we are the Eye and we are aware. Until next Wednesday. See you then. Later.
You have been listening to the Eye of Jupiter podcast. Remember, if you have any strange occurrences or stories or anything you'd like to share, please drop me an email at theeyejupiterpodcast@gmail.com and you'll be on the show. And remember, we are the Eye and we are aware. Thank you.